Welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining us today because we are going to unpack a massive shift that is literally happening right under our noses. For centuries, when we thought about global diplomacy, we pictured very specific things, right? Grand buildings, formal handshakes, hushed conversations behind heavy wooden doors. But, that reality is fracturing. We're witnessing a radical shift where global diplomacy is moving rapidly from physical spaces directly to digital platforms. Today, we're going to explore exactly how a screen, like the one you might be looking at right now, has become one of the most powerful diplomatic tools on the planet.
Seriously, ask yourself, where are the borders of a country actually drawn? We've all been taught since elementary school that borders exist exclusively on physical maps, right? Ink lines separating one landmass from another, guarded by checkpoints and physical boundaries. But what if I told you that the whole concept of a border is becoming kind of fluid? In our modern era, the lines that define a nation's reach and influence, well, they're just no longer confined to geography.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The new diplomatic stage and the evolution of power.
So the environment where global negotiation takes place has completely transformed. On one hand, we've got traditional diplomacy. Think physical embassies, highly secretive closed-door negotiations, carefully drafted official statements that literally take days to be released by a foreign ministry. But contrast that with digital diplomacy. It is lightning fast. A single social media post can reach millions of people around the world in minutes. And what's absolutely wild about this is that these massive global audiences are often bypassing official foreign ministries entirely. They might never read a traditional State Department press release, but they are absolutely consuming digital diplomacy every single day.
So we arrive at this working definition of digital diplomacy as a totally new paradigm. Historically, if you wanted to measure a country's power, you looked at the size of its military, its GDP, or its sheer number of physical embassies across the globe. But today, that equation is just incomplete. A nation's global influence is now heavily reliant on its communication capabilities. Power is actively measured by how well, how fast, and how persuasively a country can communicate with the entire world all at once.
Section 2. Rise of digital diplomats and the shift in representation.
We've talked about the where and the how of modern diplomacy, but now we really need to shift our focus to the who. So, who actually represents a country today? If you asked this, say, 50 years ago, the answer was super simple: the official ambassador. They were the singular, designated voice of a nation abroad. But I want you to reconsider that assumption. The job of shaping a nation's image in the minds of foreigners, it's no longer an exclusive government-appointed role.
Today, the modern diplomatic corps is incredibly diverse. The new diplomats are journalists, researchers, filmmakers, content creators, and honestly, even ordinary citizens. Think about the gravity of this for a second. A single independent creator, armed with just a camera and an internet connection, can now significantly influence how an entire nation is perceived by global audiences. A documentary filmmaker or an everyday citizen vlogging their daily life can do way more to shape international public opinion than 100 official press briefings.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this incredibly powerful metaphor: a smartphone can become a small embassy. Let that sink in. An embassy is supposed to be this grand outpost of national identity and influence. But today, a single video shot on a smartphone can effortlessly cross international borders. It can carry a narrative that reaches millions of global citizens directly in their pockets. You don't need diplomatic immunity or a sprawling compound to project national identity anymore. You literally just need a device, an audience.
Section 3. Mastering the digital narrative and the rules of engagement.
Now, while the barrier to entry has lowered, the complexity of the game has actually shot way up. This new landscape has completely new rules of engagement. Simply posting more content doesn't automatically equate to wielding real diplomatic influence. To actually succeed here, you need to master a few concrete mechanics. This isn't just theory, guys. This is the operational playbook. You have to possess a deep understanding of foreign cultures and master multiple languages so nuances aren't lost. You have to know how to navigate the specific algorithms of different platforms. Timing is everything. Trust is the actual currency you're trading in. And perhaps most importantly, you need the agility to respond quickly to competing narratives. Without these elements, your digital embassy is essentially closed for business.
Nowhere are those mechanics more critical than during a crisis. Think about it. Traditional official response, bureaucracy. Chain of command approvals, legal reviews. It takes days. But the digital narrative, it spreads globally in hours, sometimes minutes. By the time that official statement is even finalized, the digital narrative has already circled the globe. It's already shaping public opinion. It's defining the reality of the crisis for millions of people. In a crisis, speed isn't just an advantage. It is the entire battlefield.
Because that digital narrative moves so incredibly fast, winning a crisis requires hitting a very specific trifecta. First, speed of communication. You have to be first, or at least fast enough to set the tone. Second, credibility of the source. If the audience doesn't trust the messenger, the speed absolutely doesn't matter. And third, the quality of the narrative itself. In this rapid-fire environment, your actual message is only as effective as the speed, trust, and storytelling quality backing it up.
Section 4. The hybrid future and the synthesis of old and new.
Having seen how powerful this digital landscape is, you might be wondering, is traditional diplomacy entirely obsolete? Well, the reality is far more nuanced. The future of diplomacy is undeniably hybrid. Traditional embassies are absolutely going to remain important. We're still going to need physical outposts, official state visits, and formal treaties, for sure, but they won't operate in a vacuum anymore. Operating right alongside them are the digital networks, media organizations, researchers, creators, and massive online communities. The diplomacy of tomorrow is defined by the players who can master both, the ones who can sit across the physical negotiating table, but also seamlessly build trust with the world far beyond that room.
So, the crucial point is this. In the 21st century, the borders of diplomacy are no longer drawn only on maps. We have moved from a world governed strictly by geography and official titles to a world governed by narrative, reach, and digital influence. The very nature of how a nation projects its identity and safeguards its interests has been permanently rewritten.
And I want to leave you with this final, kind of provocative thought. Some of those most heavily contested global borders, they now exist right on the screens in our hands. Think about that the next time you scroll, the next time you share a video, or engage with a creator from halfway across the world. You aren't just consuming content, you are actively participating in the new landscape of global diplomacy. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking questions, stay curious, and I'll see you next time.